Still the Seiko boys towards the head of the pack. They did this most of yesterday, although that was mainly on the final descent, where they excelled themselves, having 6 in that last group, the last group that finished clear of the rest. 6 of their 9 men, 11 kilometres to go. Here's the Formaggi rider. There's a big argument in the cycling world, has been for years, which is the more labour-saving, sitting in the saddle or dancing on the pedals, and the arguments will rage and continue. I think it's just down to individual style myself. A lot of the pure climbers can't even agree amongst themselves. You often saw Robert Millet just sitting there, well back in the saddle, twiddling a nice little gear, and didn't he do ever so well? 4th overall once in the Tour de France, Robert. And others like to dance on the pedals out of the saddle. I think it's just down to individual choice. Some can get more out of it than others out of the saddle. No, still a largish group, but well, there's Igor Astalor on the wrong side, the far side of the road there, and he's clearly not able to keep the pace on the climb. So that's one of the big names you can count out for today, and I think there'll be 1 or 2 more. Just look at all these guys coming out of the back, the wrong end of the peloton. As our camera pans round and goes up front, here we are back with the leader, Giuseppe Moraglia. Well, he's got a long way to go to the top, and I don't think for a minute that he's going to stay out on his own for much longer. I think we're going to see a battle of the big names higher up the climb. 1, 2, 3, 4, it looks like at least 4, if not 5 of the Seikos in the red jerseys on the front. But there are also several of the Fassa Portolos fairly close in. Remember that they will want to try and control things as much as they can. Well, Moraglia's got about 9 seconds. I don't think he's going to stay out in front for too long, frankly. Coming up to the 10k to go. Long way on this big mountain. Here he comes. And there's that 10 kilometre to go barrier. Remember, this climb all told 12.8, so he's done 2.8 of it. Long way to go to the top. And there you see the distance. Well, it's not very much, is it? But look how this peloton has thinned down. There's probably maybe 50 riders in there, top whack, I'd say. So an awful lot of riders have come off the back already. Gianni Farazin, former winner of Tour of Lombardy and former road race champion, off the back. So even he's finding it tough there. The Gerolstein jersey you just saw. Now then, what's that all about? I wish my Italian was a little bit better. There's one word which is fairly universal, but the rest of it, I'm sorry, my Italian doesn't stretch to. This is one of these areas that the Italians who live down on the coast love to come to in the summertime. They, as I said before, with the Apennines being the backbone of Italy, it doesn't take you long to get from the sunny beach up to the comparative coolness of the mountains. They're not very far from each other on either side of Italy, really, of course, if you look at the map. And the people who live down on the coast during the summertime, they love to come up to this neck of the wood. And I use the word woods advisedly because, as you can see, there's conifers, there's lots of beech trees and chestnut trees all the way up these mountain sides until you get beyond the tree line and up to where the snow is lying. It's a delightful part of the country to which the Italians come when they want to get away from the heat in the summer months, the heat down on the coast. Well, our leader here is persevering. But it's just as if there's about 50 or 60 panthers waiting to pounce on him, just a little bit behind him by a few seconds. This will blow apart in a few kilometres' time, I can assure you. 9 kilometres to go. Back up to our leader. Well, he's making a good fist of this, but he's still only around about 9 or 10 seconds clear. Second-year professional, Miraglia. One of Ivan Caranta's team. Well, Caranta, of course, is right out the back by some considerable distance now, I'm afraid. But he's obviously been given the OK to have a whirl here. But 8 kilometres is what, about 5 miles? As we go back a little to pick up some of the other riders struggling up this cruel climb. This is quite a stiff climb here. The gap's still about 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's five of the Seiko boys, including, I did notice there, the purple jersey of Cunego. And if Cunego is not back in the leader's jersey, well, he's not. He hasn't had the leader's jersey on his back yet. But if he doesn't get the leader's jersey, I think there's a very good chance he might well be able to hang on to the purple jersey of points. Cunego, remember, certainly a man for the overall, as well as his team leader Gilberto Simoni. And as I suggested to Christy Anderson earlier, I wonder if we're going to see echoes of 1986 as this race progresses. Gianni Farrosin in trouble off the back, the Gerolsteiner rider, former Italian champion. Yeah, 1986, when Bernard Hinault was coming towards the end of his career. As we get a good shot of the purple jersey there. And Greg LeMond, in his same team, was the up-and-coming man. And although outwardly they made a marvellous show of unity when they got to the top of the Ventoux on that particular stage, attempting to cross the line absolutely together, although the verdict was given on the day by the officials to Hinault. That was Andrea Tonti just going through the picture. I think inwardly, behind the scenes, Greg LeMond, who was a very ambitious young American then, was pushing and pushing to get out of the clutches of Hinault, who used to have quite a hold on the peloton. He was the last big boss of the peloton. I don't think we've seen one. Even Armstrong has not been the boss of the peloton in the same way that Hinault was back in the 80s, or the 70s into the 80s. And in 86, certainly, it was just about his swan song as LeMond took over from there on in, although, of course, it was Ireland's Stephen Roach who actually won the Tour the following year. Greg LeMond, of course, found himself in hospital. Goodness knows, he nearly died, the poor man, after that shooting accident, but fantastically recovered to come back and win 2 more Tours de France. Well, here in the Tour of Italy, which of course Stephen Roach also won that same year, 1987, not forgetting the treble that he completed by winning the World Championship. What an incredible year for Stephen Roach was 1987. Only Eddy Merckx, the greatest of them all, has ever done that particular treble of Tour of Italy, Tour de France and World Championship. I think I spotted the big jersey there. I'm fairly certain that Brad McGee is still in this group, which has lost a great number of riders as the pace has gone up, and they really are now motoring along. Now here's an interesting little scenario. Towards the back end there, you see a crash helmet being given back to the team car. Now that's Giuseppe Moraglia, who's been caught, and he's taken his crash helmet off. And the reason for that is that whilst crash helmets are obligatory now, I'm not sure I agree with that. I still think it should be advisable but not compulsory, but it is nonetheless compulsory. In pro races, you are allowed to take your helmet off once you've started a mountain top finish and you're actually on that mountain. When you get to the start of the final climb on a stage where it's a mountain top finish, the rules say in pro racing, under UCI regulations, you can, if you wish, take off your helmet. And we just saw a classic example there. Quite a few of them are now devoid of helmets, but you may have noticed earlier on, every rider was wearing a helmet. If you look at the Seiko boys, you'll find that virtually all of them have now taken off their helmets. Even though it might be a little cooler on the top, they will prefer to take off their helmets. A lot of the riders, they appreciate the whys and the wherefores, but a lot of the riders don't like the compulsion. A lot of the riders would prefer that it be left to their own discretion. Prior to the compulsion, you often saw riders putting them on when they got nearer to what was likely to be a bunch finish. For safety reasons, of course. You're more likely to have a bad accident in a big bunch sprint. You're hardly going to have a serious accident, one hopes anyway, up a final mountain climb. Look, very many bare heads now. And that's perfectly permissible under the rules. Well, this bunch is really putting on quite a show of strength here. There's Gazzelli over to the right of the picture in yellow. Well, one of the Seikos has gone. He's done his work for the day. Nicolas Fritsch, despite the name Fritsch, he's a Frenchman there for Francis Desieux. 5 kilometres to the finish. 5k to the finish, and still the Seiko boys are piling the pressure on the front. They did a lot of work yesterday. They've done another enormous amount of work here today. They're doing all they can to keep the pace as high as possible to discourage other riders from breaking away. They want to get both Simone and Cunego to the finish at the top of Corno alle, at the head of affairs, and that will hoist them up the classification. Number 2 there, Leonardo Bertaglioni. He's a powerhouse. He'll keep going and going and going. Over 5.5 hours these guys have been on the road now. It's been a very, very long stage for these boys. Was that Pavel Tonkov I just saw struggling a little? Let's have another little look. Oh, the picture's changed. I have a feeling it was. We saw him just lingering off the back of the bunch that finished clear, 2.5 minutes clear of the rest yesterday. He was with them, trying to give his teammate Gazzelli as much accompaniment as he possibly could. But even Tonkov, remember, a winner of this race back in 1996, found the going tough in the closing stages, and he just trailed off. I think he finished at 10 seconds, just looking down at my notes from yesterday. Yeah, he finished 10 seconds behind what was the lead group at the finish yesterday, but he'd done an awful lot of work to give Gazzelli as much encouragement as possible. Afternoon, everybody. Somebody asked me on the emails, by the way, where's Diddy the Devil? They haven't seen the Devil, who normally turns up all the major tours, that eccentric German who dresses up as the Devil with his trident and his fancy costume. Well, it's early days yet, folks, is the answer. Watch out for him. He normally positions himself, if memory serves me right, he normally likes to position himself somewhere between 10 and 20 kilometres from the finish of each stage. And whether he's not been able to take time out for the Giro d'Italia this year, I do not know. But I do have to confess that I haven't seen him yet. He may be there, maybe the cameras just haven't spotted him. But somebody did ask, where is the Devil? The answer is, I don't know, but where the Devil is the Devil, we'll just have to keep watching. Well, just look how this gradient now is getting quite steep. Whoa, and the pink jersey of Brad McGee is finding it just a little bit tough. He's puffing a little bit there. Now then, he said that he'd try to stay with the leaders, but he's finding it tough. Brad McGee fighting and fighting to hang on to his pink jersey. the Australian, the former world senior and junior pursuit champion, the reigning Commonwealth Games pursuit champion, and determined to go to the Olympic Games in Athens to try for an Olympic gold medal as well. And yet he'll probably be riding the Tour de France, and that means he's got to do a Commonwealth. By that I mean, well, he's got a slightly bigger gap actually from the Commonwealth Games, from the Tour de France to the Commonwealth Games 2 years ago, was literally a matter of a couple of days, whereas from the finish of this year's Tour de France to the Olympics in Athens, he's got about a fortnight in which to get the effects of the Tour de France out of his legs. Well, he really is puffing, isn't he? By golly, Brad McGee is really trying very, very hard to stay with this lead group, but they are setting a very good tempo up front, an excellent tempo. And here we see the lead group. One of the Lampreys has got in there. That's Vladimir Belly, I think. And one of the Phonak boys having a go here. Now, is this Alexander Mose after the time trial points? It's not, it's Marco Fettonani, number 154, his teammate. Well, this could just be a softening up process for Mose, who won a stage in the Tour of Romandie just a couple of weeks or so ago. Well, he's all over his bike, isn't he? He doesn't have a nice, smooth climbing rhythm. I don't think he's going to last long. I've just written his name down on my sheet here, but he's been caught again, so I've really no need to write his name down anymore. So thank you, Marco, for that. So that didn't last very long. Well, they're getting closer to the top and nearer to the snow line. Remember, we did see the snow earlier, and I think we're going to see a bit more of it. Number 5, Eddie Mazzolini, another of the workhorses in the Seiko team. And there's that purple jersey again. Cunego, this young 22-year-old who surely is destined for a great future. Well, Mazzolini has seen his younger brother have a go earlier. This is big brother now having a go. So we've seen both the Mazzolinis now at the head of affairs. 3 kilometers to go. And Cunego coming up to Mazzolini. Now, this is really interesting. Where is Simoni, his teammate? And Cunego going off the front. Now, surely this is not part of the plan. Cunego is there really to work for Simoni. But he's left Simoni and the rest of the Seikos behind. Now, this is exactly what I was endeavouring to talk about with Christy Anderson a little earlier. Let's have a look at it. Here we go again. There's Mazzolini, big brother. His younger brother was out on in the lead for over 100 kilometres. And suddenly, his teammate, Damiano Cunego, in the purple jersey, goes poof off the front. Now, is he riding for Simoni or is he riding for himself? There's Simoni. Race number 1, because of course he won this race last year. Now it's up to Simoni surely to try and get up to Cunego, and he's done that. Well, now that's interesting. The counter-attack coming from Simoni himself, and now Simoni is getting all the cheers from the Tifosi as he says, that's enough of that, here I go. Wow, this is exciting stuff. Jaroslav Popovic, number 135 there, is the man who came 3rd last year, got on the podium in Milan, and Popovic has been left struggling. And it's now and Gilbert Garzelli he's finding it very, very hard lower down the road. Andrea Noe also. Well, this is suddenly blowing apart, and Simoni is laying his cards on the table. And there is Garzelli, his great rival, winner of this race in 2000. Had to settle for 2nd place behind Simoni last year. This is only the 4th day of this race, the 3rd road stage. And we are seeing a classic piece of mountain climbing from Gilberto Simoni. So, the initial attack by Cunego was a mere stepping stone for Gilberto Simoni. I wonder if they talked about this in their hotel bedrooms last night, over dinner last night. over breakfast this morning. He's put 10 seconds between himself and Popovic, and I'm not sure where Cunego's gone. Well, there's Cunego now. He's dropped back a little way. There's the rest of what's left of the lead group. It's now become the chase group, and Simoni is looking good. Well, Simoni had a fairly quietish build-up to this Tour of Italy. He didn't set things alight, came here, it has to be said, without a win. His main preparation was in the Giro del Trentino back in April, just about 3 weeks ago. He had some minor placings in there, finished third on the general classification. Cunego was the man who won it, remember, and he then came fifth in the Giro del Appennino, but guess who won that race? Yes, Cunego. So Gilberto Simoni has had a fairly quiet build-up to the Giro d'Italia, unlike Gazzelli, who actually won a stage in Lombardy, and also came sixth in the time trial. I should have said Romandy. I think I said Lombardy just then. My apologies. I meant Romandy. Gazzelli won a stage in Romandy and had a sixth place in the individual time trial. But it's Simoni now who's got all the training miles in his legs and is really giving these guys something to think about here. And there the camera pans up the road to Gilberto Simoni. Simoni, you know, could well be in pink, because at the end of the day, he is now going to put considerable time between himself and Brad McGee, and it's now up to Jaroslav Popovic to try and keep the gap on him very tight. Popovic is, take away McGee from the equation for the moment, and of these leading general classification riders, Popovic is the best placed of them as of this morning. And Popovic started the day with 15 seconds advantage on Simoni. So if Simoni can pull out 15 seconds, he can take the jersey. Well, he won't need to pull out that much, really, because there are bonuses, obviously, on the line, 20 seconds, 12 seconds, and 8 seconds. And Gazzelli, to me, looks as though he is struggling. He doesn't look very fluid. Look at the difference. You just saw Gazzelli bending over the bars. Look how smooth Simoni looks. There's Gazzelli, shaven-headed, as he has been now for the last few years, and he is definitely having his work cut out to match this pace. Now you're beginning to see the snow on the roadside. There's more in the last kilometre. And Gazzelli is now over half a minute behind Simoni. Leading the chase is the man who many think can win this race one day, Jaroslav Popovic. But the gap is about a half a minute, and Simoni has committed himself in this, the first true mountain stage of this race. It's come very early on this time. We're only on stage 3. We've got 2.5 weeks still to go before we finish this race. It's always a long, long haul, and yet Simoni has really committed himself, and there is the red kite. 1 kilometre to go to Corno alle, the top of this mountain climb. The first time that the race has ever finished up here, and into the snowy areas of this ski resort. Well, Alberto Tomba, the famous Italian downhill skier, comes to do his training. This time you're seeing cycling stars battle up the mountain, and Gazzelli there still bending over the bars. He's finding it very, very hard to keep the pace, and there's only another 4 or 5 riders who've stayed with him. One of them is Popovic, Jaroslav Popovic, who started the day in second place. Now, surely Gilberto Simoni can take over the jersey here. I think we're going to see Simoni in the pink, as in fact we saw him in the prologue time trial last Saturday. Simoni looking back already to see where he is. He knows he's got this one in the bag. That's been a wonderful attack from Simoni, and behind him even Popovic is struggling. Popovic, who started the day in second place, Brad McGee in pink, has lost his jersey, that is for sure. And up here, amidst the snow lying not too far away from the roads, Gilberto Simoni is going to come to the line to take a well-earned victory here and lay his cards well and truly on the table. It's been a slow stage. They're finishing way behind schedule. 5 3/4 hours this stage has taken them. Well, Popovic is still up there with a shout of getting second place, but they're not going to catch this man. Gilberto Simoni is going to take the stage. He's going to take pink. Simoni for Seiko, twice the winner of the Giro d'Italia, is giving the Italian tifosi an enormous amount of reason to applaud. And look how thick the snow is just off the roadway there. The snow still fairly thick on the ground here. What's it like up in the Dolomites, where the race goes in less than 2 weeks' time? But let's salute on this clear bit of road away from the snow. A marvellous attack in the last 4 or 5k by Gilberto Simoni. A stepping stone was given to him by Damiano Cunego, and on reflection, it may well be that they planned it that way. Cunego going off like a bat out of hell, and it looked at one point as if he was going for victory, but it was merely a stepping stone for Gilberto Simoni, his teammate, to come up to him and straight past him and say thank you very much. Ping, off he went, and the winner of stage 3 in Corno alle of the Giro d'Italia is Gilberto Simoni. Well, there is Popovic, and I don't think he's even going to get the minor placings. Oh, look at this, a good recovery from Stefano Garzelli. Garzelli coming back in great style, but Simoni has done more than enough to take over the pink jersey. There's no question of that. Good recovery from Garzelli, it has to be said. Well, Garzelli, I think, looks a bit exhausted. We saw him in trouble a little bit lower down the slopes, and there he is, relieved to finish. I noticed Andre Noe was up there for Alessio Bianchi. I spotted him in that lead group, 4th last year and also 4th in the year 2000. Are we going to get anything of this interview? Gilberto Simoni already talking to our reporters as the riders are coming in very small groups. This mountain, climbed for the first time in the Tour of Italy, has done a lot of damage, and the general classification is going to look very, very different from what it did this morning. We saw the pink jersey on the shoulders of Brad McGee, struggling and struggling to stay in touch. I'm not sure I've even seen him yet, as Simoni at last can smile and relax and look forward to a nice shower and a good massage and a good meal. Well, yes, he's the man, he says, and the coffee machine makers will be delighted with that one. Well, it had to be a Seiko day, didn't it? After all, the race went past their factory lower down. So, Simoni and Cunego, I'm getting, is the 1-2 in the overall classification. And Popovic in 3rd place, as we get this marvellous view of the big, big mountain that overlooks this ski slope. Well, that's the Monte Cimone, which is 2,165 metres. Well, that's jolly close to 7,000 feet above sea level. Well, there's the stage result. Cunego getting second on the stage, just ahead of Pelizzotti and Figueras, another man who would want to be featuring in the overall classification, and Popovic finishing right up there, which will be enough to catapult him up into 3rd place overall. So a great day for Seiko once again. They've had 2 very good days. Andrea Noe finishing down in 10th place, 1 for the overall. Segai Honchar losing 34 seconds like Noe. Pavel Tonkov, a former winner, almost a minute. And Garata also losing the thick end of a minute to Gilberto Simoni. Is Gilberto Simoni then on his way to a 3rd Giro d'Italia victory? It's far too early to say, but certainly he has answered a few questions today about his quiet build-up for this race. Well, there's confirmation of the new overall standings. Simone and Cunego giving Saiko a 1-2. Popovic up into third place. Remember, he was on the podium in Milan last year. Popovic for Landbau, Credit, Colnago. They'll be delighted with that. But clearly, he has a lot on if anybody is to dislodge Gilberto Simoni. Well, we're very late, I'm afraid. We've got to finish quickly. We'll be back tomorrow at the slightly later hour of 4 o'clock Central European, 3 o'clock in the UK. And I hope you'll join us. Till then, this is Mike Smith saying goodbye. Thank you.